Gayatri, over to you for your reflection, Gayatri.
So Paridhi, I was in Paridhi's room and Paridhi talked about MVP is lot similar to LDI. In LDI, we require spontaneity and risk-taking ability. And what holds us back is fear of not being most knowledgeable person in it. And in MVP, if when you are launching a model, you have that fear that your product is not perfect, and you can wait to be the product most perfect, and then you want to launch it. But what happens is, by the time you are making your product perfect, first it will not attain its perfection. It will never attain the perfection. There will be always some room for improvement. But by the time 4 to 5 other companies will launch their mediocre products, and then your customer will get divided into 4 to 5 groups, and they will build nostalgia over the product they are using. Then when you launch your product, then they will not use your product. They will not give first preference to your product. So, and she also gave the example of Birds of Paradise, which is a hair coloring company. They first launched hair coloring jars, and then they got feedback from customers that they want something which is not which color needs not to be bleached, and then they launch that, and then they keep on adding products, and they keep changing the structures, and yeah.
Okay.
That's what.
Thank you, Gayatri. Thank you for starting with partial knowledge, starting with partial confidence, and going ahead, making a reflection. It was really nice to see you take the initiative. You were the first one to go in, right? So come on, people, it's okay if you fumble. You need not be perfect all the time, right? She may have started by fumbling, but I'm sure you all agree with me that she's shared some really nice insights with that. At least I personally missed because I was not in that room. Yeah. Thank you, Gayatri, for the insights. Over to you, Soumitra.
I was also in Paridhi's room. So my takeaway would be like before we pitch for anything, we need a basic understanding to pitch. Like in LDI, to be very honest, I did not pitch because I did not know anything about it. But again, you said it's just the partial knowledge is important, risk is important. You can take it and just go with the flow and take a leap of faith. So I took it as I'll keep it in mind that forming a basic understanding is very important, and then you can pitch on it, and then you can improve it with time. The next would be risk taking and insecurity, and we should avoid we should avoid insecurities, like the insecurities about what if I did not succeed, what if people did not understand the product, and we should just take the risk. And the next would be I'd like to appreciate the example of how Paridhi put the architect versus a businessman, that what a house is for an architect is the product for the businessman, that the an architect shows the blueprint, and what a businessman can do is releasing the sample products and taking feedbacks on it. And again, the example of Birds of Paradise, and how they moved with creating their flow with the one product, and then working on the customer's demand, which really helped them improve their position in the market. And the last was acceptance is really important in the initial stage, which is everybody is not good at first, but initially they grow and they become the best at that place. That's it.
Thank you, Soumitra, and looking forward to your LDI pitch next time, right?
100%.
Because see, even Nitya was having difficulties when some questions were asked, but people in the room were actually speculating and trying to build on top of those questions, right? We were just figuring things out together. So the objective of LDI is not to be an expert and give gyan, but to pose ideas and moderate a discussion so all of us together could figure out something.
Sure.
That makes you confident to face new situations even if you don't have the complete knowledge, because the workplace is not like your college exam where there's a set syllabus and things will come only from the syllabus, right? Anything can show up, right? Like the biggest exam for the companies was 2020, the pandemic, right? Completely out of syllabus. Companies had to suddenly adapt. The economy had to adapt. So we have to be okay with going in with partial preparation, I guess.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, over to you, Dinesh.
Yeah, actually, I was in the this room. So what I understood about the lean startup or MVP is that the product knowledge is to be very thorough, but the basic understanding is enough to start a startup. But uh, the process goes like this: initially starting with a simple product with a basic understanding, and then building it gradually and gradually, so that it expands the area that it covers. Yeah, and that example of Bird's Paradise, yeah, I actually really like it. The name also. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Is it that the people who reflect go to Paridhi's room or people who go to Paridhi's room reflect? Which way is it? Because all the first three, I think, were from that room. Okay, Daksh, please don't tell me you went to the same room. Yeah, over to you for your reflection.
Yeah, no, I visited two, three different rooms.
Okay.
So I understood there are two important things. First is risk taking, and the second is updating your goal. So I'll take two examples that were not mentioned today. We all know about the Large Hadron Collider. It's a particle collider in CERN, Switzerland. However, America was also planning to make a much bigger particle around the same particle accelerator by the name of Fermi Labs. And because they did not plan out their project over a long term, they did not know what risks are possible because it was a new project for them. Whereas the team in Switzerland had a modular project. If we finish this much, we'll get a grant to go to the next level. So I think modular approach is important. Second, the example of the new AI, Humane Pin, Rabbit AI. I think these were products that were launched as soon as they were minimally viable. Whereas if the companies reflected a little bit more, something like a Rabbit R1 business model doesn't make sense because the entire thing is an app. So as you're working on a project, you will update your goal as well, which is also important. And it can change the final product.
Thank you, Daksh. Those were like really dense insights. I hope all of you are taking notes. So in your gratitude, you could pick up some of these nice insights. So that is a very good point that, as you're going on the journey, it's not just the product, your goal itself, right? The way you're thinking about it could change because you've learned that, okay, what you were thinking initially may not be the right approach. That is a beautiful point, Daksh. Over to you, Shreya.
Okay, so what I gathered from going to Diya's room was that how important feedback is and how important factoring it in developing your product is is to appeal to the customers. So she was talking about how governments in India do not factor in what changes might happen after they build bridges or roads, and they go about breaking them down again and again. So that is a waste of time, resources, efforts, everything. So that leads to that is sort of indicative of a bad planning or a bad blueprint, first of all, and not factoring in the fact that there might be changes um, would be detrimental if you want to grow and appeal to a larger audience. That is what I gathered.
Yeah. Thank you, Shreya. I think when you're building infrastructure, right? Infrastructure is a long-term investment and foresight, is important. However, that this seems to be a little contradictory to what our discussion is about, incrementally improving something. So it'll be interesting to see how governments can use the lean startup method to build infrastructure, right? I think Daksha's reflection was talking of that, right? About CERN, about how they did it in a modular way, and slowly it's, I think, the one of the biggest experiments in human history. So it'll be interesting how governments can learn from this and implement. That's a very good reflection. So yeah, thank you everyone for actively participating. We are going to have the Socratic dialogue on the MVP method, and I would like to once again emphasize that MVP method is extremely important if you see yourself as an innovator. You see yourself growing, in product environments, not service environments, right? So if you see yourself as a product engineer, right, I think MVP method is extremely critical, because when you, I mean, We learned the MVP method, but let's understand what is the problem that the MVP method solves. Do you know what is the problem that MVP method solves? We humans suck at predicting new things. 90% of startups fail. More than 90% of startups fail. More than 90% of new projects and corporates fail. You might say startups are failing because they don't have money or they're new and all. But even in corporates, new initiatives, more than 90% of them fail. How many of you heard of Cafe Cuba? In 2014, I think Cafe Cuba was launched. Coffee with carbon dioxide inside it. Cafe Cuba by Parle Agro, right? They were. Do you know which revolutionary brand Parle Agro had in the past? One of the most consumed
Thumbs Up.
soft drinks in India.
Thumbs Up.
Exactly. Other than Thumbs Up,
Slide.
Thamsa, Limca, Gold Spot. Gold Spot. Gold Spot, they killed it. They could not kill Thumbs Up. Coke acquired it from Parle Agro. So Parle Agro signed a clause that we will not get into beverages for a long time. So after that clause ended, Parle Agro wanted to come back to beverages. They launched this thing called Cafe Cuba. Just go to YouTube and search Cafe Cuba ads. They were revolutionary. The ads were amazing. But the problem is the drink didn't have revolution in it. I drank it 4 times just because of the ad. I don't drink coffee. But I drank it 4 times just because the ad was like, chalo, this is the coffee revolution and all of that. Che Guevara and all of that theme was brought in. Right? They envisioned a new category of products. Right? But just didn't seem to click for them. Right? So what's the point? In corporates also, 90% of new initiatives. What?
It
Failed.
We humans are not good at predicting what is likely to click. We are very confident, but most probably it fails. So that's why this method is a very effective method where, you try something. If it doesn't work, you take that feedback, you build something else. And incrementally, you can keep building on it. Do you know Intel was not into microprocessors before?
No.
Go Google it. Intel was not into microprocessors before. They accidentally stumbled upon it and then they survived as a company. Otherwise, they were going to shut down. Even Twitter, I don't think they were into microblogging initially. They were into something else. So a lot of companies made those, pivots. So this MVP method is very powerful. MVP method is a very important mindset you would require to grow. We're going to have multiple Socratic dialogues on MVP method. Every 45 days, we'll definitely have this theme once. So I hope you will learn this, right? This concludes the LDI and looking forward to the SD experience. Those who have questions can stay, but others can drop off. Good night, everyone.
So